Good afternoon, everybody. Another weekend is quickly approaching. This is Jason Leva with the Fort Worth Community Arts Center, and we would like to welcome you folks to another edition of our Boxed Lunch interview series. We are so very excited to have a very special guest with us today. World-renowned photographer, I would say, in all kinds of great things. Rolling Stone, GQ, the one and only Rambo. How are you doing today, Rambo?
I'm so tired and good.
Well, we are so very excited that you took the time to join us. And before we delve into our lunch menus and fabulous information, do you mind taking just a second and introducing yourself and tell us a
Sure.
little bit about who you are and what it is you do?
I'm Rambo Elliott. I'm a photographer. I don't really do much. I just am someone who lives really creatively and artfully and try to bring my camera along for all of it and try to help people through photography and just make people look beautiful and feel seen and kind of learn a little bit more about themselves. And I love fashion and I love dressing up because I grew up with like way too many sisters, and all those dance recital costumes really add up after a while. So you can get some pretty solid concerts going. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like to talk about myself, which is why I'm behind the camera most of the time. So I probably have things I could like talk about, but it would make me feel like I'm bragging. So I'm kind of like, I'm kind of bad talking about myself.
I'll talk about them, and then you can just validate or verify, and we'll
Sure.
just go from there. So now you
me.
said you're laid back, but in the things that I have found about you, you have been on tour. You have been on a national park photo shoot. You've made a short film. You have, and I may be saying this wrong, New Year's Eve fashion parties that I read about.
Yes.
And it sounds to me like you have quite a few things going on. So I don't think you're giving yourself quite enough credit.
I like to be busy, you know.
Now, you said that you were a little tired. You were busy recently. You said you just came back from a trip, correct?
Yes. So I've known one person my entire life. Her name is Jerice Louise Abbott. My first dog was named after her, Layla Louise. She's a phenomenal person, and she just had triplets. And so I've been like on triplet duty this last week, like Monday through Thursday. And it's the best birth control I would ever suggest is go have to take care of 3 babies at once. It's like kind of weird because like low key, it's like the person that I get along with the best, that I like love the most. And it's like a really stressful fun. Like, I don't know, like it's actually like really fun to like go be useful and helpful, especially like kind of in the pandemic where all of us are kind of like reinventing work and reinventing how to be useful to our like village of people. And so it was kind of nice. She was like, I don't know if I need a break from my parents or if my parents need a break from all these kids, but you need to come here and help me. And I was like, all right, I've got like 5 people that I answer the phone for and I show up for, and she's one of them. So she calls, you answer. There's a lot of diaper changing. It was a lot of crying, but it was also a lot of like singing Lauryn Hill to babies and teaching them about Otis Redding and lots of sing-alongs. It was fun.
Well, it sounds like a wonderful time, and I can only imagine. I'm assuming you took some pictures as well?
I did. I mean, it's one of those where, so like my brother-in-law Drew was just like, he's real, and he's just like, I'm not a baby person. I have 3 babies, but I'm not a baby person. He's like, because it's just so much. And he was like, I feel like I'm missing the stuff that's going to make this sweet. And so I was like, I should take some photos just so like, even though we're all like completely on 2 hours of sleep each, like there's some joys in there. So it's nice to like capture it. So even though everyone's a walking zombie, you can be like, that one moment when everyone wasn't crying was pretty funny and cool. Okay, great.
Nice. Well, welcome back to Fort Worth, and we're so very glad that you took the time to join us today. So,
Cheers.
so Rambo, what is on your lunch menu today?
I don't cook. I'm really blessed to have really good balance in my marriage, and everything I'm terrible at, he's great at, and everything he's terrible at, I'm great at. So I have Grey Poupon and some pretzels. And I'm a texture eater, so Clausen is the pickle. Like kosher dill is it. Like you want the snap, you want a cold pickle, you want it to be salty, but I want to be able to eat pickles all the time. So you can't just be doing like a big dill gas station pickle all the time. So this is what I'm eating.
Very nice. It is so nice to know. I had to pivot a little bit today. I always assume I know what's in the refrigerator, but I'm not even sure I know what day it is anymore. So I had another menu planned. It was not ingredient friendly with what was in the ice box. So I turned around and I'm going with tuna fish sandwich today. And
Yeah.
I also I'm gonna give a shout out to Starkist Tuna Creations.
Yeah.
And, just to make things interesting, I will be adding some chopped up jalapenos today.
Ooh, that sounds
And
good.
I boiled an egg all on my own. It was great. I took the yolk out to try to be healthy, and so I'm just going straight with the egg whites. And
Nice.
I'll throw that in a bowl and mix that up. And my little coup de grace today is Harvest Snap green pea snack crisps. So I'm gonna ride the health train today and
Hey, that'll work.
see how that works out. So
Husband's been vegan for like 22 years. I'm not, he is. And it really has been one of those where like he sneaks vegetables in. Like he's always sneaking in vegetables or being like, hey, you should take a swig of this beet juice. And I'm like, all right. Like it's good. It's so nice to live with someone who reminds you like, hey bud, you can't eat meat and cheese all the time. You gotta, but it's also been cool because it really has been teaching me more about cooking and just like how actually a lot of vegetation's like really good. Like I love
I
roasted
know.
Brussels sprouts. Like they're so good. I can eat that no matter what. So I feel like I'm just like by being married to a like super cooking person, I've been learning a lot more about food. And it doesn't make me cook more, but it does make me eat more. So I'm happy about that.
As you should be. So, well, it sounds like our lunch today should be pretty easy to complete. So hopefully we won't screw anything up and stay on schedule. So, oh, you're off and running already.
I'm like,
Fair enough.
we're done.
So, Rambo, while we're getting things prepped, I was wondering if you would talk a little bit about how you and the photography industry, I guess, has been coping and dealing with this COVID-19 situation.
Well, I mean, so it's weird. I mean, photography is already, I mean, first of all, my journey with photography has been crazy. Also, I didn't ask if I have to watch my language while I'm on this. I didn't think.
I don't know if we've ever had to deal with that before. So,
Oh, okay. That's probably I should watch my language then. Okay. It's crazy, and I was gonna say effing crazy because that's how crazy it is. But I mean, I feel like with the internet, photography has changed and exploded so much. I mean, even like starting with Leon, like in 2014 to like now, like the field has completely shifted, even in like the 6 years I've been a part of it. And so, I mean, pretty much like my field is like capped. Like everything is shut down. There are no jobs,
right.
essentially. But it's also made me like be really creative. And then there have been like some random offshoots I've been getting hired for, just like jobs within my family, like jobs within like the 5 people I see already. So I've been finding work there. But I mean, everyone's a photographer nowadays, and the field was already just like inundated with like content. And so now I think people are kind of having to like circle back to quality and how to safely do our jobs without getting anybody sick. And it's just been an interesting time, like, but kind of luckily, I'm more an artist than like a hireable photographer.
Sure.
So for me, like, it hasn't honestly changed. I mean, it's like, it's changed a lot, but also like, I'm going to be taking photos no matter what. And that's what I want to be doing. And that hasn't stopped. So my field is probably about to be completely restructured, but it kind of doesn't affect me that much. All I need to do is like buy clothes and hang out with models in fields. So not really, it's like I'm really affected, but I've always been broke. So like, kind of what's the difference, you know?
Yeah, I think that tends to be a consensus in the artist world. And I've said on a couple of occasions, I think we might have a leg up in waiting for the next gig because it seems to be
Yeah.
a natural progression for the art world in general. So,
It's really weird to say because, like, look, at the end of the day, like, a lot of people have passed away due to a pandemic, and it's like
yes,
really messed up, and we're not handling it well. I don't think our country is under a lot of restructuring at the moment that we've been needing for 400 years, I think, which is exciting. And I'm turning 35 next week. So, like, I guess I'm an adult and I'm going to have to, like, be a person who takes care of this stuff. But also, it's been really weird how, like, 2020 has actually been, like, kind of a really good year for me. Like, I was able to actually, like, pay off my student loan debt this year.
nice.
And unemployment has been the most consistent money I've had. And I don't even know how long, because I'm so used to working like 5 big jobs a year and then making it stretch so I can like be wild and create what I want to create all in all the meantime. So it's been really crazy how, like, low key I've just been like, it's kind of been a really good year. Sorry. Like, I
You know,
know a lot of crazy stuff's been happening, but it's kind of been a really nice year for me. I don't know.
there's nothing wrong with saying that, and I think more people need to focus on a silver lining. There's enough
Yeah.
out there to where we don't have to look for it, and so it's inspiring to hear you say things like that because it is a turn of phrase, it is a perception, and while we can all admit that there's a lot of heartache and hurt going on right now, there are some things that are still happening that we need to be able to get our mind around to keep us just up and active. And so it's
Yeah.
good to hear that things are going well for you, and you were able to find some silver linings in the year. So
Well, and that's
congratulations.
again, like, I don't know how deep a conversation you want to have, but I mean, for me, like, I've struggled with mental illness like my entire life. I've struggled with poverty my entire life. Like, I come from like a wild background, and like, I feel like the last few years have been honestly the most stable and calm years of my entire life. And so, in a weird way, having like a mental illness has kind of really prepared me for this time because I'm already at a high level of panic in my mind. So, when the world starts following suit, I'm kind of just like, actually, y'all, I'm really prepared for this. Like, I'm super prepared. I have all sorts of tricks for keeping my mind calm, for keeping me calm, for knowing when to take a break, for knowing when to talk, for knowing when not to talk, for knowing when to be like, it's not negative to be like, I'm not okay,
Right.
or this is so messed up and crazy. And then also giving yourself permission to be like, but I got to walk around the neighborhood with my like nephew and my best friend today. So that was pretty tight, you know, like, it's learning to find joy in like the simple human things and not necessarily in work and capital and
Sure.
I don't know, like, so I'm, like I said, I'm already kind of like I'm already running a different kind of life because I have to. And so it was weird to be like, it just feels like everyone else is at my stress level now. I don't know. Like, low
Again, that's
key,
a
I'm
great way
like,
to
welcome
put
to the
it.
world. I don't know what to tell you. It's always been hard. I don't know. Like,
So I'm going to throw that back at you a little bit here, and I'll say to you, I don't know how deep of a conversation you would like to have. Now,
always.
you started out in a totally different industry, from my understanding. You went to
Yes.
school for medical muscular, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes. So
And
I
then
pretty much
you,
have an undergraduate degree that sets you up to either go into physical therapy or you can apply to an MD program. And I worked in the medical field my entire life. And then I had, we'll call it a bad day, but I just had an experience that really shifted a lot of my norms and shifted a lot of what was possible for me, and really affected my mental health. And I had to start dealing with PTSD, and I just got to where like I couldn't take care of strangers anymore. And it was honestly like really sad because I wanted to stay in the field of taking care of people because it's what I love to do. Like I love taking care of people. There's to me like no better joy than making someone feel better about anything, whether it's like, do you need a sandwich today? Do you need a comforter for your bed? Like, do you need a hot meal? Do you need to not say a damn thing and ride around the car with music? You know, like, so for me, I worked for like 14 years in like physical therapy, and also worked in acute care in the hospital, and was applying to MD programs when my friend got famous. So I decided to get in a van with Leon Bridges instead of going to MD school. Which my dad is always like, how'd that work out for you? And I'm like,
Well, I
great.
gotta believe most of us would have made that same choice.
You know, when the occasion calls, you step up. And for me, like the cool thing about being raised by old people and spending my entire 20s with old people and truthfully with dying people is you spend the youngest, wildest part of your life having people tell you over and over and over, like, don't work yourself to death. Like, do what makes you happy. I wish I hadn't worked so much. I wish I'd spent more time with my family. And when you hear people's like life regrets, when you hear so many people's last moments in life, it really shifts your philosophy. I mean,
Yeah.
it gives you a really wide range of empathy because you're meeting 30 different kinds of people a day. But also I'm a deep person. So when someone teaches me a lesson, I try to learn it. And so I think for me, it was just like, when you have a once in a lifetime opportunity, you take it.
Yeah.
You know, medical school will be there, and taking care of people is always going to be a part of my life. And now I just do it with a camera. And it was a really nice shift.
And do you mind if I ask, why photography? What was it that drew you to that instead of, say, painting or poetry? What was it about the camera that pulled you in?
You don't have to say anything. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like so I was raised primarily with my grandparents. My parents are sweet people, but they're a little chaotic. And so my grandparents, both my Mima was my dad's mom, and my Pete, it's a weird nickname, but that's what we called her, was my mom's mom. And I spent the majority of my time growing up with them. And I remember them just being like, don't ever work a job you hate.
Yes.
Like, ever. And so I kind of never have. And I just felt like when my grandmas passed away, they divvied all the stuff among my aunts and uncles. But for me, it was sort of like, oh my God, you guys are giving away my home and I don't get a say because I'm a grandkid. And one of the only things I got was like photos. And then I started realizing, like, in the modern era, like, we don't have like strong portrait work of our families anymore.
Yeah.
We don't have a photo that's so good you'd want it on the wall for 50 years. And so I feel like between that and then just like not really wanting to chit chat that much and just wanting to like look at things kind of just drove me to photography.
Wow.
I have no idea what half the buttons on my cameras do, even to this day. Like, I gave a talk to my friend Letitia Huckabee, who's incredible artist. Her husband Cedric is like also, they're just both incredible people and incredible artists. But I gave a talk to her college class, and it was like every student was in photography college. So they were like so technical, and they were all like, okay, on this, I used a Cinetype, and then I broke that down with this. And I was like, I don't even know what y'all are talking about. Like, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. What does it mean? I was like, I don't even know what my camera can do half the time. I just know what I make it do. But it was really fun just to like, every time someone tried to get real technical with me, it was really fun just to be like, what does your art mean? I don't care how you made it. I mean, I care, but what does it mean? I was like, I'm not really chasing the technical side of this. I'm chasing, why'd you make this? What was it for? What's its purpose? Like, so I don't know. It's kind of been fun to bring this sort of energy to photography. I don't know. I like it.
Nice. Well, you've had some wonderful success with that. I'm curious, when you went on tour, Did you, was your focus primarily on capturing Leon's experience, or was it just something that kind of opened up and came about as you were traveling along?
I think it's weird to have a friend get famous, period. Uh, and we had just been taking photos because I love him. I think he's a beautiful person and he's really interesting and has such good style. And we both love to dance and we both love fashion. And so we just started unknowingly kind of building this brand for him. And then, you know, Columbia Records is like, hey, you want to keep going? We haven't hired a photographer like in your capacity since the 60s. And I was like,
Wow.
no pressure. They were saying, like, I want to let you know, like in the meeting where we pitched him to the label, we used your Instagram to do it. And they were like, we want you to keep, you know, building what you've been building for him. And so I think for me, it really was just a matter of like trying to show every city we were in, trying to show his experience, trying to document my friend's history in like a more poetic and meaningful way to help him get famous. And you start learning like, okay, if we tag the clothes you're wearing, that clothing brand might hire you. Or if we want to get in XYZ magazine, if we take photos like that magazine will view you as like easy to hire and easy to feature. And so it was just a lot of like, A, loving my friend and wanting him to be successful, and B, learning how to like push his success through a really strong visual.
Wow, that's so incredible. What an opportunity. And, you know, it's
So
something to do, something that you love. It's even more special to do it with someone you love as well. And to,
yeah,
you know, have those things come together just really seems like kismet, and just a
yeah,
wonderful opportunity, not only to grow your art, but also your friendship, and see the world as well. So
yeah.
now you went on another walkabout, and I was curious about that. So I have a trailer myself, and I love to travel. And if I'm repeating this properly, you spent some time in a van with your husband and some models as well, and made it out to some national parks. How was
Yes, I
it?
actually spend a lot of time in the car with models and roaming nature. I think a really cool thing, if you do, so one of the things that if you do struggle with mental health, a thing that they encourage you to do is like remember things about yourself that have always been true. So when you kind of like are getting really negative in your own head about yourself, something they encourage you to do is be like, what is something that you have always liked? What is something about you that you like that has never changed? And truthfully, like I grew up in Arkansas. And so I grew up like wandering woods, wandering rivers, creeks, mountains. I mean, that's what was available to do for free where I'm from. And so like most low income families just went outside.
Creek
This is
walking. That's what we used to do. We called it creek walking.
Yes, yes, you pick out crawdads and
Yep.
I don't know, like it's fun. And so for me, like it's really been a joy to get to like do what I've always been doing, which is like wandering around and dressing people up. So as I'm learning how photography works, I have a really odd relationship with Stetson Hats. I didn't realize that until I met other photographers they've hired. But I pretty much just email Christina and I'm like, I have an idea. Send me money. And they're like, okay. And that's it. And I don't have to like do too much other than that. And so I had a job in San Francisco and wanted to drive to it because I've never done that. And pretty much was just like, hey, Stetson, do you want to cover the part where I drive there? And we just like stopped at all these like state and national parks to like explore. And it was really cool just to be in that many different like I don't know, just like we were like we're driving through snowy aspen trees, and then 5 hours later we're driving through desert, and then 5 hours after that we're like in mountains. And I don't know, I just am really inspired by nature, and so it's really I'm better if I'm kept moving also. So it was really nice just to have a sort of, you know, basic plan, but just the idea is we've packed a car full of outfits. We've made like all these 5 stops that we really want to see, and we'll just make it as we go. And it's really fun.
Nice.
Like, I can't believe I get to do what I get to do for a living. I feel a little like spoiled by it.
Did you find a big difference in urban cities on tour and rural national park areas? Is travel, or is there a difference between stadiums and national parks?
I gotta tell you, I'm Southern, right? People don't think they're that Southern, but as soon as you go above like midway across the country, you're just like, I think I'm Southern. Okay. So I'm bisexual and I grew up in the South, which is not fun. Sometimes people are really ignorant as to the gay community, and people don't know how to mind their business. Like, I'm not trying to be in other people's bedrooms, so I think it's really weird that people are trying to be in mine. Like, I think consent is more an issue than anything. Like, but I used to go to New York like once a year just to get a break and kind of be in a place where the LGBTQ plus community was thriving and it was a lot more acceptable. So it was just kind of a way to like mix up my Southern politics. But this really weird thing has been happening the older I get, where now I go to New York and I'm just like, where are the freaking trees? Like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is way too many people at once. This is so expensive. I have no interest in working this hard to survive. I love my cheap rent and my garden and my yard. Like, no, no interest in the huge cities. But that's why like Fort Worth is like low key a good balance, where like I don't love the politics of the area I'm in because we're still not great at accepting everybody in our area as they are, and like we have a lot of old ideas that we need to be more progressive with. But I get to live in like a really small town that is both country and city. Because a lot of people have been like, why don't you move to Dallas? And I'm just like, because I don't want to live in a box.
Yeah.
Like, if I stay here, I can like live really close to like some woods and get to be in a city. So it's kind of the vibe. But like I said, it's just so weird to finally be Southern enough that like I go to New York and I'm like, I think I'm stressed out. Like, I get made fun of a lot because I was working for a good friend and musician, and the venue was like 1.5 miles away from where I was, and he was like, okay, just get on the subway, go this many stops, and I just walked to it, like to and from, like every day. And they were like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't want to go underground. I don't know. I don't want to go underground and get shoved in a box with a bunch of other people. It kind of stresses me. So I'd rather walk 3 miles a day and stay above ground. I don't know.
No, I hear you. Absolutely. I was staying out in Azle prior to this shelter at home and all of that, and people thought I was crazy. And there's some
it's
beautiful
really
country out there.
It's really fortunate in some ways to have a bit of a struggle in your mind, because when people are like, oh, you're crazy, you can just be like, yeah.
Exactly. Why
no.
fight?
Like, yeah, I know, it's fine.
Glad you noticed, and
yeah,
we can move
I'm also
there,
aware of
so.
it.
All right. So I was curious, do you have any current projects in the works or even on your mind while all this is going on? Have you been able to find inspiration in the current situation?
Yeah, I mean, the really cool thing was because there's a pandemic going on, obviously, and Leon needed some stuff made for his album, for the single he dropped. And then eventually the label was just like, are you capable of making a music video? And I was like, now, yeah. I was like, I've done enough film work now that probably, yeah. And so even that was really cool, just like in the middle of all the protesting and in the middle of, Black Lives Do Matter. Seems obvious.
Yep.
Seems obvious. But it was really nice to get to make a really big, like, empathetic project in the middle of our country's restructuring at the moment. And that was like really inspiring, just to get to make something like that focused on where I'm white, clearly, but I also grew up in a predominantly Black community So for me, it is something that's going to be on my heart, and it's going to be, it's a struggle that a lot of people just don't know about.
Sure.
And which is, I'm glad everyone's learning now, but I'm also kind of like, y'all are late. I mean, y'all are a little late. Glad you're here, but a little tardy on it. But it was really inspiring just to like get to meditate on a dear friend's song and think about how to visually create the depth that he created in the music and in the lyrics. And it was really inspiring just to like work with him. I mean, it's always inspiring to work with Leon because something about us when we connect is just really different. And so it was really inspiring just to get to make something that when my nieces and nephews are like, what were you doing in 2020 when the country was, you know, I can say, actually, I was making this for your Uncle Leon. You know, I was actually making a story that could help people connect to the current movements and could help people connect to a community that maybe they're not that familiar with. And it was really inspiring, and like, it helped me sleep at night. I have trouble sleeping at night with everything going on. I'm just so worried about everybody. And so it was nice to like get to be really inspired again by my friend and his incredible music, and get to make him a visual that represented where we're from and represented him, like, not as a, I mean, it's so hard to have a famous friend because I have to remember he's a big deal. Like, sometimes it's rude of me to not remember he's a big deal, and I need to do that better. But for me, it was really nice just to make something for like our family's history. And all the guys that are in that video are our family. They're our friend group. They're who we rock life with. And so it was really nice just to make a story that's so deeply our family history. And I was just really inspired to get to do it. It was nice.
Where can we see it? Is it out? Is it public
Yeah,
now?
it's on YouTube. It's just Leon Bridges Sweeter. But also, both me and him are really big fans of this photographer, Gordon Parks, who was a photographer in the 60s and did a lot, actually for the Land and Bureau Department is how we got to take a lot of his photos. But he was a really big part of civil rights and really took some incredibly powerful photos about that time. And so even it was cool when I worked with the colorist on the video, because you have to, like photos, you edit, you know, to get the style and the coloring you want. It was really nice just to be like, I want this to look like Gordon Parks. I want us to match the tones. I want all the shadows to be turned brown. I want all the greens to be really deep. And it was really cool even in that way to get to like tip my hat to like one of my favorite photographers of all time.
That's really cool. Now, you did a short film a couple of years back as well. Do you feel like that's a natural progression for a photographer to take a still image and then moving to a moving image, for lack of a better word? Or is
No,
it something that
I don't think it's a
you
natural progression.
picked out?
I still prefer photography. It's faster. Let's start there. It's faster. You show up, you do it, you get back out. Whereas film is so different. But also, I think I've always been a huge movies person, and I'm just a cheesy ass person, bro. Like, I love love, and I love making beautiful things. And so it's kind of been funny because a lot of people have been like, you should do more videos. And every time I'm like, that was a lot of work.
So
I'm okay.
what made
But
you?
it has been like, for me, I don't think it's a natural progression for a photographer to enter into a completely different field, which is videography. It's demanded of us more, but it's not the same thing. And it's not the same mind. But I am a big movie person. And so it kind of does fit, but it requires a lot more people. And I don't like working around people.
So did you do your short film on a whim? Were you hired?
So
Why did you go that
I've
route?
made a few short films now. I made a short film. NASA had a competition actually like 2 years ago where they made all their space footage public domain. So you pretty much just had to make a short film and incorporate space footage and no charging you for it. It crashed our computers so many times because space images are like, I mean, massive. So I made that one and it was really nice. And then this company, M2G Ventures in Fort Worth, wanted to make a mental health initiative. And so we had a really real deep conversation where I was like, I can show you the depths of mental health if you think people could handle it. And so I pretty much just got to put my imagination to work to try to metaphorically represent repression, anxiety, and depression, and how to move out of it, and steps we can make in the future to better help this like group of people in society that gets completely left behind. I mean, your options when you're mentally ill and you're having a crisis are police, who are going to lock you up for acting wildly, or if you're a person of color, might shoot you for acting wildly, or you can get put in a box by a hospital. And not many of these options are great. I personally have felt really failed by medicine and mental health. And so it was nice to kind of like make a short film that metaphorically made the audience feel as uncomfortable as I can feel sometimes, but also showed the audience a way out and the lasting endurance of people who struggle mentally. Because I have a lot of respect for the people I was in the mental ward with. It is not easy to have to battle yourself all the time. And so it was really nice to get to like make a film that was representative of that. And that helped us get to build a depression clinic in Fort Worth. It was really,
Wow.
really cool to like get to help fund something that I really believe in.
Yeah, absolutely. So the film that you're talking about in terms of mental health, is that the Bridges short film, or is
Yeah.
that a different one?
Yeah, which again is one of those where with everything happening, we were gonna do a showing at the Modern Art Museum, but you know the world shut down. So it's kind of one of those where I'm like, I actually need to probably regroup with them and be like, what are we gonna do? what are we gonna? It was in the Lone Star Film Festival, and so people
Right.
got to watch it that way, and we had a great turnout. And I had so many people come up to me afterwards and just be like, you did it. Like you totally explained what I'm feeling when I am in anxiety, or you totally explained what I'm feeling when I'm in depression, or this is totally how I felt growing up as a gay person being repressed or a Black person being repressed. And so it was really nice just to like, I don't know. I just feel like I probably roll with the punches a little too. I probably should be better at like planning a life, but I really am just one of those people that just sort of am on the wind. And when things come up, I just say yes or no. And so this opportunity came up and I was like, I don't know how to do that, but I bet I can learn. And I did, and it was really rewarding to make it. I think it's been an interesting thing for me because I didn't work for Leon because he was famous or because he was a big deal. To me, he's just a really beautiful person that I really love and admire. And I really struggled after like getting off tour because I thought I'm a photographer now and I'll go do all these jobs. And then I'm like on a set trying to care about like watches. And I don't give a shit about watches. What am I going to do for a watch? Why would I try to sell a watch? And I sort of realized like, oh no, I'm still in medicine because I still just want to work from here.
Right.
But then I think it's been a really rewarding career for me because I am always working from my heart and I'm always working with my passions. And as soon as I feel compromised, I shut it down. So it's kind of just been learning that it's okay to be a sensitive person and it's okay to be a really emotional, like heart-filled person, and you can have a successful career. You're going to have to make sacrifices, but you can work the way you work. And I really just work best if I'm being empowering to the person in front of me or encouraging, or if it's got a deeper meaning to it. It's easier for me to work that way.
Wow, it's very inspiring to hear you talk like that.
Sorry, man, I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's great stuff. So I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. Now you had talked about limited resources for mental health. Can you give us some insight into some resources that have helped you, or that you can lead people to maybe get some other voices heard, or to be able to seek some assistance outside of the police or the hospitals?
No, and that's the problem.
Really?
I mean, who do we? I mean, let's say that I'm having a panic attack, and when I haven't gotten there in a long time because I've learned how to like manage my own calm. But when I'm having a panic attack, or like if I'm having like a PTSD flashback, I get to where like I can't be touched. Like no one could touch me, no one can come near me, and I'm just like freaking out. Like there isn't a number to call. There's not a number to call for people who are struggling with a mental health crisis. There are like suicide hotlines,
Yes.
which is great if you're at that place. Like if you're about to do it, it's a really good resource. But if you're just struggling, they're not really the one to help you. And I don't really know of many free counseling opportunities. And that's not even to say that they don't exist, but I don't know of many free counseling opportunities in the South that exist outside of a church. And so if you don't want to pray harder to get better, there's not really a lot of, I don't know, it's like weird. It's like I'm on the forefront of this battle, so I should know, but I don't. And that's sort of part of the struggle is I know a lot of hotlines you can call if you're in a crisis, but I don't know a lot of like free resources for mental health. But again, that's not just because I don't know about it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I'm sure it does, but I don't know about it.
Yeah.
And that's where honestly I am excited about us reinvestigating how much we're asking police departments to hold, because I don't think they should be holding social services. I don't think they should be the ones interacting with the homeless. I don't think they should be dealing with addicts. I don't think addicts deserve to be locked up. And so I think I'm kind of excited that we're looking at restructuring a lot of our budgets for our people. I would love there to be a 411 number that we can call to send someone to my home who's a social worker or is a counselor that could help de-escalate in a way that keeps me safe and not wrapped up in a judicial system that I'm not wealthy enough to overcome, or that doesn't put me in a state hospital where they're just going to medicate me and not ask me if I'm okay. But again, speaking passionately, sorry.
Yes, I know that mental health is big on your radar, and I think it's great to have someone that is speaking out for that, because I don't think it's said enough, and people are so quiet about it. It's one thing to deal with an emergency when it rises. It's something totally different to deal with anxiety and mental health on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Because that's
And
really the meat and potatoes of it. That's where
yeah.
all of that goes to a crisis situation.
And I think that was like the biggest help I ever got was having a counselor tell me, you're in for the long haul. She's like, this isn't something that's going to go away. This isn't like you take this pill and you're healed and you never have to deal with it again. It's like learning to view mental illness as a chronic disease. And even half the things that we call mental illness in this country are poverty, are people being too stressed out with not enough resources to provide for their families, and it'll make you go a little crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Or, dealing with racism in the South can make you go a little crazy. So even half the things that we call mental health are really just depression. And then the other side of it is, again, people like me having to understand there's not a get out of jail free card for this. You're going to have a lifelong struggle with this. And so you need to like kind of get on top of being responsible. And I remember when I was in the mental ward, I didn't really say much. I felt like the people I was in there with were struggling with so much more than me. And so I was kind of just trying to be quiet and be more listening and just also try to rest and get my own mind right and together. I remember like the last day before I left, just like really crying because I was like, I'm getting out of here, but nothing in my situation has changed. I'm still a broke artist. I still have a crazy family. I still feel alone in the world. And I'm worried about what's going to happen when I get out of here. And I remember this one guy, he didn't mean to like yell as in a bad way, but he did sort of hand me my ass a little bit. And he was just like, you're a white woman in America. You look clean. You look healthy. You can play the part. He's like, look at us. He's like, half of us are addicts. We've lived rough. We look rough. No one's going to give us a shot. And he was just like, you represent the best of us. You represent the one of us who can blend into society, who can go to the interview and get the job. And honestly, it really that's why I made the short film, because I was just like, dang, all of my colleagues, not all of them, but a lot of the people I was in the mental ward with didn't win their battle and aren't with me anymore. And so it kind of just honestly made me understand that I need to be representative of more than myself. and I need to represent that in my art, and I need to be the person that will talk about it honestly, because I belong to a sector of society that people would rather, shove to the side than deal with. And I think I deserve better than that, and the people beside me deserve better than that. And that guy really put it in perspective for me, the privilege I get to look normal and healthy and not be.
Oh, really?
And get to be the person that fights for the people who don't have the luxury of fitting in.
Nice. So do you have any tips from firsthand experience about how to bring it from a 8 to a 6 or a 10 to a 9? Can you give us any insight from?
So the city did an initiative called the New Normal, and they gave grants to a whole slew of artists to make art. And I actually am still working on it, so sorry about that. But there's a grounding exercise that actually is really helpful to get you back in touch with your senses. So it's pretty much like 5 things you see, 4 things you feel, 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, 1 thing you taste. And I used my grant money to pretty much make like a really beautiful styled, like noir kind of short film that pretty much walks people through that exercise. So it's like I explain it, and then I pretty much made like a fashion film, describe like walking through the grounding exercise. And honestly, I think it's something probably should finish this first one before I start planning the others artists. But I think it's something I would like to do like more. Like I would love to go make one in the Grand Canyon, and I would love to go make a grounding exercise in ice caves. But even just that, of just when you're really getting outside of your own mind, just being able to be like 5 things I see in this room, just to make yourself be right here and not make yourself like projecting all your worries in the future to where you can't breathe, or like messing yourself up by thinking about your messed up past too much.
Right.
And it's really like a good exercise for making yourself be right where you are. Like you're allowed to be a human, you're allowed to be on earth, you're allowed to be freaked the heck out. And it's just giving yourself permission to have steps to like walk yourself back to right here, I'm okay. Right here, I have enough to eat. Right here, there's a roof over my head. And I don't know. It's nice to try to focus people to the present, like
Yes, be
can't
in
do
the now.
about what happened there.
Exactly. It's not
Don't know
happening
what's
to you right
happening
now. Be
here.
happy about it and enjoy
Yeah.
the moment. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice. So
I mean, even when I was feeding like the triplets that I just was helping with, truthfully, I don't want babies. Like even if someday I get to a level of wealth that makes me feel like I could support someone else other than myself, even then I think I would go with older kids, because like the crying happens and my mind is just like and I'd like. But something that really did help me is just I would repeat the phrase action steps. So like the baby in front of me is like losing their mind crying, and instead of just being like screaming with the baby, I had to just be like action steps. Okay, like just do the next thing. You don't have to, it's chaotic, but just do the next action. Just keep calm and carry on, if you will. And it actually helped me, because I would get frozen just in the panic of 3 children crying at once. And then I would just be like, hey, take an action step, any action, even if it's just carrying the baby out of the room or changing the diaper, or just reminding yourself like, hey, don't get stuck in your mind. Like take an action step, whether it's calling the one person that you can call and be like, hey, real talk, I'm freaking out. You know what I mean? And knowing who those people are in your life, and knowing who those people aren't in your life. And also, like, I hate how many people tell you just to take a walk, but it helps. It's like, no, literally go run away from your life. Like, get outside and run away from your house. It really helps sometimes. Like,
now, so I want to ask you, I know that there were 3 things that you enjoy, and you talk about things that help you. I was curious. I read that you enjoy black pants, board games, and antique phones.
I
Have,
do.
have you got
I
a
have a lot
new
of it. So
onslaught of that from the pandemic?
all my antique phones over my mantle place. I have a lot of antique phones. First of all, everyone should own black pants. Listen, there's something called the Texas uniform. If you're a Texan, you want to dress like a Texan when you leave here, because people won't treat you like an American and be rude. They'll treat you like a Texan and be fun. So, for a Texan, you need a pair of black pants, a denim shirt, a sports coat, and a pair of boots. That's it. You don't. First of all, everyone knows that cargo shorts are a no-go. They're not flattering to men's hips. No one freaking uses those pockets, okay? Nobody. It's a scam to make you look bad. So just be a Texan, wear a sports coat, a crew neck shirt, and tuck it into some jeans, and you're done. And you'll look stylish no matter where you are. It's really great. And I actually bought myself Taboo for my birthday and played it last night.
Very nice, very nice. I was very curious to hear how it was going with those three things. So
Going great. I
awesome.
mean, you like to like, you know?
Rambo,
I had a whole family, like, so I was raised in a really big family. I was raised with, I mean, again, hanging out with my grandparents, but I also hung out with all my great aunts and uncles. So I was really raised with like some old ass people. And the number of times my great uncle George was just like, beat it, kid, because I was just asking him 1 million questions, because obviously I'm a talker. And I would just stress out my like World War II veteran great uncle who's like building furniture to keep himself calm. And I'm over here like, what's this for? What's this? Can I touch this? And he'd be like, get out of here. But my whole family worked for Southwestern Bell. And
oh
so
wow.
I mean, every single human in my family worked for Southwestern Bell. And so I just grew up around phones. And so it was sort of just a way to like keep my family around in a way.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
So, Rambo, this is probably the most important question I have for you.
Okay.
Where can we find out about you, keep up with your art, and know what's going on in your life?
Definitely Instagram. So I pretty much treat my Instagram like a running diary. Like I truthfully forget that people can look at my work, because I'm not really making it to be recognized or to do anything other than keep myself happy and calm, and be a service to my friends and people I care about. So I pretty much just run my Instagram like a public diary and just put a lot of my thoughts and feelings and artwork. So a really big thing I like to do in art is pair words with images, just to let people know where my brain space was at when I created it, or just a deeper way to look at the work. And so I would really just say like Instagram is the best way. I have a website, but it doesn't move. I mean, you know, like you build it and it stays. Whereas Instagram really is just, I don't know. And especially for me, when you work with someone and you help someone get famous and you develop a style, people jock your style a lot. And so eventually over time, I just got to where now I'm so experimental. If someone could follow me, by the time they copy me, I'm like 3 steps ahead now. So I'm like, you can try to copy me, but I'm probably over that idea already. So it doesn't bother me. So it's just been nice to like I'm going to live a long time. We live a long time. Do you ever feel that way?
I certainly do. And I'm already about 25 years past my expiration date. So
That's how I feel, bro. Like I've already had like 6 lifetimes.
yeah,
Like,
I'm
already.
certainly hanging on to that 9th one. So
hey, shoot, do what you got to do. You know what I mean?
indeed.
But yeah, I would say Instagram. I'm just at Rambo, Rambo. It's probably the best way to see I'm always getting into something, man. Always. It's fun.
Nice. You are doing some great work. You have some absolutely beautiful photography out there, and I want to check out that short film. So
thanks for that.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, really good stuff. So, all right. I guess with that being said, are you plated up?
Yeah.
I snuck mine in on you. There's my tuna fish sandwich right there. And you can see that I put the eggs and jalapenos in there, just mixed that all up. And Rambo, it has been an absolute pleasure visiting with you. Any final thoughts or words? Say again?
Put some spicy mustard on that sandwich.
I went with the Hellman's mayo.
Okay.
So
I don't think the mustard would make it, but it's your sandwich.
All right. You know what? You seem to know what you're talking about. So
spicy mustard, bro.
I will. I'll put a dash of the spicy brown on there. All right.
Spicy brown is so good.
I'm gonna take your word for it and see what it adds. So, all right, Rambo. Any other final thoughts or words of wisdom for everybody out there?
Y'all, do what you need to do right now. If you need to take a break and not think about the future, don't feel guilty about that. If you want to, keep working towards the future, knowing that it's going to shift, I encourage that. Tell the people in your life that you love them. You never know what's going to happen. Rest in peace to our friend Jeremy Joel. Check on your people right now. Just check in on each other. Try to keep each other good. Try to stay inspired. Try to find, this life is a marathon. We're not going to be we're not in a sprint. Especially turning 35, you realize more and more that, my service dog passed away also right before the pandemic of 13 years. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to outlive her by so much. It is wild. I'm going to outlive the love of my life by like 4 more generations of dogs. But also it's been encouraging to be like, we have a lot of future and we have a lot of future together and we are so strong together. Nobody's alone. We're a pack species, just like dogs are pack species. That's why it works. And don't forget you're a pack species, Don't just rely on your husband. Rely on your husband, your friends, your artist friends, your fashion friends. Like, try to take days off, but also stay involved. Like, we've got this. It's our turn to be the adults. We're going to be great adults. It's going to be great.
Great advice. I wish you nothing but the best, and it's just been an absolute joy to visit with you.
I'm like, let's have a real lunch where we don't, we'll have a better lunch another occasion.
Absolutely, and that offer is extended as soon as we are clear to meet up.
Right, that's why I was like, I can't ask you to go to lunch. Never mind.
You know how to get a hold of me whenever you feel safe. I'll even wear a mask, so we'll visit some more. And
no problem wearing a mask.
Yep.
None whatsoever.
Absolutely.
That's very glamorous. I do.
Rambo, it's been a pleasure. And
it's been a pleasure.
With that being said, that wraps up another edition of Box Lunch, everyone.
Yay! I hope that was okay.
After the weekend with a new one on Monday. So make sure you join us. Follow Rambo on Instagram. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, all of those great things, Fort Worth Community Arts Center. And with that being said, I'm going to try this spicy mustard on my tuna salad.
Yes!
Bon appetit, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Be nice to yourself and all the others. And we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye, everybody.
A bientôt. Yes. Yeah, the mustard made it. I know it did.